So please, stop thinking of just power and money. Stop listening to someone who doesn't care about children. Think about the kids, the teachers, the community. And I want to tell you, we are more than just ranks. We are more than just grades. We are more than just test scores. Yes. We need a system that supports individual growth. To y'all, I'm ranked 77 out of 267. And
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. We have two speakers. We have two speakers registered to address this topic via Zoom. We have two topics registered to address this topic via Zoom. Ms. Smith, can you please identify and admit our speakers?
Dr. Pamela Bovland, please turn your camera on. You may begin.
Oops. There we go. Nope. Well, okay. Well, it won't. Oh, there we go. All right. To the unelected group and the uncertified superintendent. While you spent a great deal of time this week gaslighting people of Houston, everyone should be aware, for the record, first, this superintendent left Dallas with declining scores. Second, there is a mountain of research supporting librarians in schools as laser-focused method of motivating students to read. Nurses provide access to health care for these students. Next, reducing central office staff was part of the vision of our selected superintendent as a means to find money for competitive salaries for all teachers and staff. Our selected superintendent and elected board worked together to turn around 40 out of 52 failing schools without replacing all of the staff in our community schools. In real terms, any success these hostile takeover minions have will be on the backs of House administration and the elected Board of Trustees. I continue to be extremely disturbed by the lack of geographic diversity in this unelected group of managers. Finally, it is odd that these draconian strategies have been revived as a new vision for Houston students. Lipstick on a pig. I would not be gaslighted. Taxation without representation. The ghost of Hattie Mae White will haunt you as you work to restore public education and communities of color in Houston. Here, I will guarantee I will speak at every meeting in your future.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Sonia Roberts.
Ignore us, deny us, destroy us. Do you really care about us? As a resident of 3rd Ward, alumnus of HISD, Jack Yates, Lanier, Lockhart, a longtime HIV activist, I come to say y'all and F. Mike Miles are a fraud, a sham. You gotta go. We don't know where you are, where you're from. We don't no longer have representation. I believe the Constitution said something about taxation without representation. Taking away librarians, nurses, wraparound services is criminal. Teachers, food service workers, janitorial services, and do you know the janitorial services and the cafeteria workers, they're boots on the ground. They know what these students need, just like the folks in the wraparound services that you're taking away. Removing them is criminal. You all have been here 2 minutes, and you're trying to figure out, it's like getting on the elevator on the 1st floor, and you're supposed to assess floors, 2 through 10, and you open the first one and say, okay, we know what's going on. We're going to change it. You haven't even been up there. You even haven't been in our neighborhoods. I don't know. Who's from 3rd Ward? Who's from Sunnyside? Who is from Cashmere Gardens? Who is from all of these districts, all of these areas? You know what? Y'all got to go. You all are nothing but tools of the puppet master, Abbott, who is running, what's that man's name, Marath? You know what? All because Harris County turned blue, and they were so angry, they're doing everything they can to change it. So I want to say, disrespect us, ignore us, hate us, mess up with us. Y'all don't really care about us.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So, the last item held for registered speakers. The last item held for registered speakers is item 4, approval of current and anticipated donations for district-wide and school-specific programs. And she signed up to speak. We have consolidated the speakers to the topics. The last item held for registered speakers is item 4, approval of current and anticipated donations for district-wide and school-specific programs and authorization to negotiate, execute, and amend necessary contracts associated with these donations. Meg Seth. Is Meg Seth here? Meg Seth. Oh, Ms. Seth. Ms. Seth. Ms. Seth.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have 2 minutes.
Hello, I'm Meg Seth. I'm a grandmother of 5 girls in the HISD school system. Lawmakers approved a safety bill that would require an armed person at every Texas school. The measure requires armed security officers that gives the state more power to compel school districts to create active shooter plans. This is House Bill number 3. TEA now has the authority to compel school districts to establish robust active shooter protocols and follow them, and develop standards for notifying parents of violent activity. My question that has not been addressed is, how is this fitting into our new school system? Will we have a system in place by 23-24 school year, or what? Are you training people to be in our schools? Our children cannot learn if they are afraid to be there. No matter what program you put in, they will not learn. This is a problem in our schools, in every single school in our district, and I want to know what's going on. What safety measures are we talking about? Do we work closely with the Houston Police Department? What safety changes are going on? Murat and Miles have a plan that if somebody is not doing well in the classroom, that they're taking him out to a Zoom class. I am a special educator advocate, and I'm telling you, if you take out special ed kids out of the classroom without their teachers, that there will be a non-compliance and lawsuits in this district, and I will be advocating for these parents. I am sure that there are parents in this room that are special ed parents. My daughter was a special ed student.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. That concludes our hearing of registered speakers for this meeting. Thank you to all of the speakers. Our next business item is to elect a president of this board. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Audrey Mananai to serve as board president.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, we will now vote on the nomination. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it by unanimous vote. Colleagues, thank you for your confidence. I look forward to working with you as your board president. The first agenda item.
Go ahead.
I know. You can't hear.
Well, get real close.
Nobody can hear. The first agenda item relates to local board policy, BDAA, local. This board meeting is intended for board work. This meeting is intended for board work. This board meeting is intended for board work. We are going to have to recess this meeting. The first agenda item relates to local board policy, BDAA local, and it's to suspend the requirement that there be 5 officers. Specifically, the item would be to suspend the policy requirement for first vice president and second vice president, and instead elect a single vice president. It would also suspend the requirement for an assistant secretary. This would result in 3 officers rather than 5 as currently set out in local policy, who would be the president, vice president, and secretary. This item is identified to be in accordance with best governance practices and state law. Do I have a motion?
Madam President, I move that the board suspends the specified requirements of board policy BBDA local that requires a first vice president, second vice president, and assistant secretary, and that the school board elects a single vice president and secretary.
Is there a second? We will now vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. The next agenda item also relates to local board policies, suspending the requirement that regular meetings be held on a second Thursday of each month, as we plan to hold our June regular meeting on the 4th Thursday of this month. Do I have a motion on this item?
Madam President, I move that the board suspend specific requirements of the board BE local.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
We will now vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion passes. The next agenda item is the election of... Can y'all hear me? The next agenda item is the election of board officers. By virtue of our previous board policy BDAA local, which provides for 5 board officers, has been temporarily suspended. Do I have a nomination for vice president?
Madam President, I nominate Rick Campo for vice president of the board.
Is there a second? Do I have a second? Requesting order in the room so that we can conduct our business, and so that the people on Zoom can hear, because people on Zoom, the public cannot hear.
Okay.
What's that?
I don't know if I have a nomination for Rick Campo as Vice President of the Board. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any other nominations for Vice President? Seeing none, we will now vote on the nomination of Rick Campo. All in favor, say aye.
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 The ayes have it by unanimous vote, and Rick Campo is elected Vice President. Congratulations, Rick. Next, may I have a nomination for the office of Board Secretary?
Madam President, I nominate Angie Lamont Flowers to be Board Secretary.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, we will now vote on the nomination of Angie Lamont Flowers. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it by unanimous vote, and Angie Lamont Flowers is elected Secretary. Congratulations, Angie. The next agenda item is consideration of the acting superintendent and the ratification of the acting. She was saying pause.
Just keep going.
The next agenda item is the consideration of the acting superintendent and the ratification of the acting superintendent. Requesting order. The next agenda item is the consideration of the acting superintendent and the ratification of the acting superintendent's contract. We will consider and take action on naming Mr. Miles as superintendent of schools and approving his employment contract as superintendent of schools during our meeting on June 22nd. But today we will consider this interim title as acting superintendent and the contract that governs the interim time period. Is there a motion concerning this item?
I move that we approve F. Mike Miles as the acting superintendent and ratify the acting superintendent employment and relocation agreement.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
We will now vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. The motion passes. Our last agenda item is to approve a donation which the board has had an opportunity to review in the packet prior to this meeting. Do I have a motion on this agenda item?
Madam President, I move that the board approves the donation as described in Agenda Item 4.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
We will now vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Thank you again to the community members who shared with us today. We appreciate your participation in the process. Thank you to the HISD parents for your energy and your partnership in the work ahead. Thank you to the HISD staff for your professionalism during this transition. We look forward to seeing you all again at our meeting at our budget workshop and agenda review on June 15th. There being no further business, we will not be meeting in closed session. This meeting is officially adjourned at 6:55 p.m.